Let's talk about somebody that you and I we've talked about a lot, I should say, John Wooden. How well did you know John Wooden personally before you took the UCLA job?
Not at all. I didn't know Coach Wooden at all personally before I took the job. And in fact, the first time I met him was after the press conference announcing my hire. And we flew to Louisiana that year and met him at the hotel down there at the Final Four. That was the year Syracuse won it. We were knocked out. It was an honor to get to know him, and something I'll always relish. And I always worried about, taking up too much of his time. I mean, he had so many people pulling on him, always wanting to talk to him, get with him, spend time with him. And he couldn't have been more gracious to everybody. I mean, he was such a gracious man, and I really appreciated his friendship and his family. Just a wonderful family. Jim and Nan are great people, and it was fun to have the Wooden Classic continue on after he passed away, and I hope that will continue to be the case because I think it's great. Just a great man and a great person, and someone that I don't think will ever be equaled.
Explain to people what it was like to be, because I get asked this a lot, what it was like to be around John Wooden and talk to him when he was 92, 94, 96, and what his mind was like and what his personality was like. You'd go to have breakfast with him at Vips, and he'd invite you back to his little apartment, and this is maybe the best that ever did it in any sport, and he lived under such modern circumstances. But what was it like to be around him and to talk to him?
Well, I'll tell you, going to his apartment and sitting with him there, like I took my family there one of the first times that I went over there, and it was so fun because he was just completing the children's book that he did, Inches and Miles.
Right.
And my wife was, an elementary special ed teacher and loved that, and my kids just loved meeting him. But it was so interesting. He had so many wonderful books and stories and mementos of things that he had accumulated through his life there in his apartment. It was really, really fun to sit there and spend time with him. And he's such a sharp mind. I mean, that's the thing that's amazing to this day to me, is to be that sharp in your mid-90s and not skip a beat. His sense of humor, was really, really special. He had a great sense of humor, always having fun. I remember one time I was at breakfast with him and Bill Walton and Andy Hill. And he and Bill Walton were just going back and forth for like an hour and a half. And it was just really fun to witness that, and just the amount of needling they were giving each other. It was really, really fun.
Uh-huh. I know that you saw Coach Wooden in his hospital room, I think maybe a day or two before he passed away. I referred to the exchange in my book, but tell the story about when you went to see him.
First of all, I felt really honored just to have the opportunity to go say goodbye to him. It was the day before he passed away. And he had been in there for a week, and he had had a number of different trips to the hospital during that previous year where he had been in the hospital, then he'd be released, and he'd be back in.
You never knew what was the last time.
Right, and I didn't even know he was in at that point, but I'll never forget going to see him and leaning over, and I was there with Pastor Dudley and I in the room, who spoke at his memorial service, and he had whiskers. I'd never seen him with whiskers before. Here he was unshaven, John Wooden, and he looks up, his blue eyes, his steely blue eyes. I mean, his unbelievable steely blue eyes, and he starts scratching his chin. Here he is on his deathbed, ready to die the next day, totally at peace. And he says, "I feel like Bill Walton right now." And I just started laughing. I was just dying. Here he is making fun of an unshaven former player. And I was just so taken aback. Like, this man really is at peace. And it was really a special moment for me.